All right, guys, we're back on Southeastern 16. Max Barr is here in the garage, both of us ready to go for another exciting day of SEC basketball. Now, we're a couple days late this week. Had some stuff going on, had to delay a few things. But listen, we're talking SEC basketball because it's a day that ends in Y. And this is what we do, Max. And before we jump into looking at transfer rankings for SEC basketball in 25-26, we're going to talk about our non-conference game of the week, Arkansas and Duke, an absolute heavyweight showdown, the likes of which maybe we've never seen before. We're going to give you a little tease and let you know right now, okay? Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Central Time, we are going to be doing a live stream on the Southeastern 16 YouTube channel. It is going to be a special live stream with a big announcement from your boys here at Southeastern 16. So we need you guys to set it on your calendars, put a reminder in there, 9 a.m. Central, Friday, August 1. That is tomorrow. Max is going to get the stream set here in a little while. You'll be able to set your notifications. You will not want to miss this. And now that I think about it, Max, I actually decided to put in a little Easter egg, a little hint in my video today that hints at something that we could be announcing tomorrow on our stream. But
I like this.
I don't know if anyone will figure it out, but there is an Easter egg in there somewhere. All right. So with that in mind, let's just get to the good stuff here. We're going to talk transfer rankings. The regulars are here, Max.
Yep.
Let's go.
We got Brian in here. Just means more on a Thursday morning. We've got Mr. Zach in here. He finally made it. He's been working like a dog. Someone's got to do it. Got Holly finally making a live. Folks are in here. Can't wait to talk some SEC hoops. It's been quite a week, Blake. We're not going to get into details, but folks, I need to talk SEC hoops. I need to do it. It's a fix. It's like a bottle, Blake. My bottle's empty right now, and I need SEC hoops talk to fill that bottle up.
My guy Max needs to pick me up. You guys leave kind thoughts for Max and company in the chat, and we are going to talk SEC basketball.
Yes.
And Big Baller Brett, 2 minutes into the stream, already won intel on a commitment. 2 minutes, that's all it takes. That's what she said. All right, here we go. Rankings. Max, 24/7 Sports put out their SEC top transfers. And so we decided we were going to debate these rankings.
Yeah.
Because, well, we did transfer rankings at some point, didn't we? I don't know if we did like hard 1 through 30 the way they did or something like that. But like we did a couple of things, I feel like just kind of ranking what we thought were the top transfers. But it wasn't probably a structured thing the way they did it, right?
Yeah, so this is I'll bring this graphic up here for the folks here to look at. So we've got, this is from an account that I like to follow, CBB Uncharted. They made this graphic of 247 Sports' top 30 SEC rankings. And it brought up quite the discourse, Blake. It brought up quite the discourse on social media. And this is so it's not like this was like, Adam Finkelstein's top 30 transfers or something like this. This is the 247 Sports. If you go onto their college basketball transfer rankings and then were to filter it by SEC only, this is what they would look like. So it's not a specific reporter here. So don't go calling for heads or anything. This is just the 247 top 30 transfer ranking put into a graphic. And you know what, Blake? I hadn't seen it like this before. And in prepping for this show, man, I've got a few questions and a few takes about the list.
I have several questions and takes about the list as I'm just now looking at it and digesting it for the first time, although I've seen it. But I just kind of, as I'm looking at some of the numbers here, I'm like, oh yeah, wow. That could be a good wow or a bad wow. But all right. So here's what we're going to do, Max. I think we should start. I think we should probably start at the top, okay? Because I think this is where the discussion is going to kind of
Big Gator's
probably
excited.
Heat up at the beginning. Big Gator EJ's here. By the way, Sam Smith is also here, and he said instead of getting Chris Lee and Jay Greason, he got us, and it's like going from prime rib to canned meat. So Sam has been kicked off the channel, just so you guys, it's an update. He has now been kicked out. Zach, quickly though, $5 super chat. Does Jovic, one half of the Vitches, not count as a transfer? You would think he would be on here.
No internationals.
That's right. No internationals on this list. All right, Max. So number one, if you're listening on the audio, you probably need us to actually read these out to you because you're not seeing this graphic. Boogie Flant goes from Arkansas to Florida. He is number one on this list of 247 Sports' top 30 SEC transfers. Number two, Jaden Quaintance, heading to Lexington to play for the Big Blue Nation, Kentucky Wildcats. Ooh. Number three, Jacoby Gillespie at Tennessee. Number four, Dayton Thomas at LSU. And number five, and we'll just say 5 and 6 since Auburn holds both of those, Keyshawn Hall and Keyshawn Murphy. Let's go top 10. Number 7, Xavier Lee at Florida. Number 8 is, why can't I read that?
Xavier Brown?
That's Xavier Brown. Okay. I was like, that's Oklahoma. For some reason, I was looking at it and saying, it looks like Stanford. Number 9, Darian Reed. And number 10 is Jalen Lowe. All right, Max. Initial thoughts on the top 10 here.
My initial thought obviously is, well, geez, are we not talking about Boogie Woogie Wonderland enough, Blake? Are we not talking about Boogie Woogie Wonderland enough?
Hang on, Max. Just quickly, folks.
I know
we've said it multiple times now. We are not 247 Sports. These are not our rankings. I'm going to repeat that 5 more times in the next half hour. These are not our rankings. We are debating rankings by someone else. We have the logo up there. Everything is there to tell you it's not Southeastern 16's rankings. Let's continue.
Don't worry. We will get to the biggest snubs. Don't you worry, Moby.
Yes.
We will get
Moby,
there.
I agree with you too, by the way, Moby. I think you're on to something here. Are you kidding me? But
we will get to that.
We'll back you up in a minute on that.
I had two main takeaways from the top 10. Blake, and you can actually be spread into more. My first one, though, is, are we underestimating Boogie Flan in terms of the number 1 overall transfer in this cycle? I know it's just one outlet's rankings, but we have not really been talking about Boogie Flan as the top overall transfer.
No, we haven't. And I think it's because we didn't get to see him in a full season last year. And I think that because the injury was what it was, anytime you do these rankings, and we say this with any type of rankings we do, I feel like we're always going to go with the proven commodity over something else. And I feel like that's where when you put these together, it just depends on what you're valuing, right? If you're valuing like NBA potential, of course he's one of the top ones. There's no question. So I think that is certainly a situation where I wouldn't be surprised if you're valuing it on that he would be a number 1 or number 2 type choice. So, I mean, I don't know that we're undervaluing him. I think it's just because, I don't even think wait and see is the right phrase. I think it's just, hey, the guy was injured last year. We didn't know if he was coming back to college. He comes back, goes now to Florida. We think he's going to be fine and great, probably in the Todd Golden system. But I think it's okay to be a little bit hesitant and just be like, all right, yeah, like we're curious more than anything to see how he fits into Florida, and we just didn't get to see him for a full year last year.
I think it's interesting, and this could have a major impact on the league as a whole, Blake, how the top 2 transfers, and if you don't want to agree with these rankings, you can spread the take out to 2 of the top in the league, okay? Boogie Flan and JQ both have injury question marks surrounding them, and they're the top 2 in this ranking, where JQ, we're not sure exactly when he's going to get back to 100%, and Boogie Flan, someone who we didn't get to see all of him last year, and you're wondering, well, what might it look like if he's 100%? So there's that. And then my other question, Blake, is, now I have a few LSU followers on Twitter. Blake, I've got a few. There are some Tiger Hoops fans out there. We don't get many of them in the chat here, but they are out there, and they do tune in every now and then. Can Dayton Thomas carry LSU? And I'm not saying all the way to the tournament, to this, to that. can Dean Thomas carry LSU a bit more than we think he can?
I think my answer to that is he needs to probably, right? Like I
He
think
needs to.
that's yeah. I mean, I think if LSU's gonna be in that mix of being in the tournament, I think he's gonna have to. But I mean, remember though, if you go like the product of the transfer portal is that some of these happened so early that we just stopped talking about them. But remember, he was one of the earlier ones, didn't he? Like when did
Yeah.
he? Like that was one of the first ones. Remember, because at the start of the transfer portal cycle, we were saying LSU is just they're boat racing everybody. And that was like the discussion we were having. But, again, you have so many guys that come in and out since then that we stopped talking about LSU a lot. We mentioned our guy, the Zipper. But,
Yep.
Thomas was one of the first ones, I feel like. And so I'm glad he actually gets a lot of love here on this list because I think it just became a situation of, well, there are a lot bigger names that wound up transferring in. And so just probably wouldn't get talked about a lot. So I'm okay, actually, that he maybe for some people is going to be higher than they would have on their list because I don't think that should the fact that he committed later or earlier than everybody else doesn't mean that he should be overlooked when it comes to just the overall talent here.
Yeah, I agree. As usual, I remember that, right there in the beginning, and we were like transfer portal winners and losers of early on, and LSU was like a big time winner, because they were getting a new commitment every day.
April 1, by the way. I think it was March 31 or April 1. So, I mean, again, that's so long ago now. So,
yeah. And Justin Holland, one of our top members coming in. Don't worry, we're going to be getting to Vandy talk as well. There's a few teams, if you guys haven't noticed yet, there's multiple teams without a single representative on this list, and I will mention them. My other two, and this is starting to extend past the top 10, Blake, is there's a few teams really top heavy here. We've got Oklahoma with 3 in the top 11 with Xavier Brown, Darian Reed, and Nigel Pack. And then you have Kentucky with 5 in the top 18. 5 out of the top 18 transfers on this list are Cats. You've got JQ, Jalen Lowe, Cam Williams, Aberdeen, and Mo D, all in the top 18 of this SEC transfer ranking.
Yeah, I mean, which is not a surprise. We mentioned the depth I think that Kentucky's going to have. I think you would expect them to have a lot of these guys on that list. I'll tell you, the Oklahoma thing's fascinating because, like you said, if you were asking someone randomly to fill out this list, I would guarantee you that a lot of people outside of Norman would probably not have 3 Oklahoma players in the top 11. So that may lend something to, and again, remember, this is a subjective list by one outlet. It's not
right,
the end all be all, but that may lend some sort of, validity to the idea that Oklahoma could be one of those, sleeper teams that we've kind of looked at and said, hey, I think that they could certainly be a team that takes off this season. And then, like even go further, right? I mean, Davis is sitting there at 19. So
yep,
there is one on this list that I am just looking at and I'm thinking, what am I missing here on why? And look, there again, there's going to be plenty of reasons we could swap some of these around. And that's the player at number 20. I mean, I've mentioned A&M and the thinking that, hey, this is a team that, I feel like they've come a long way, right, in terms of where we thought they would be in terms of their roster. But when I look at Baco there at number 20, I'm thinking, A, the SEC is pretty loaded from a transfer standpoint. B, I would be surprised if at the end of the year we're looking at this guy and saying he's the 20th best transfer in the SEC. I just think he's going to be way higher than that by the time we get to the end of the season. Maybe I'm wrong there. You can give me your thoughts. But, I mean, here's a guy coming off of back-to-back seasons in Indiana, averaged 12 points a game, 5 rebounds basically. Played 23, or no, how many minutes do you average? About 25 to 27 minutes. He to me is going to be one of the primary pieces on this Texas A&M team, and I think for him to be at 20 is a little bit lower than I expected. And two, I mean, Pop Isaac's there at 14, right? Not stunned by that, but I think Mbako's going to be higher than that.
Well, then you've also got Rylan Griffin there at 24
Yeah.
as well. So you've got 3 A&M transfers, and they're not listing Federico, Jakari Lane, a few others there that I wouldn't have been surprised to see on a list like this. But that's to be expected when the whole team is basically transfers.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's the thing is like how many teams basically are built off of nothing but transfers. So to see so many guys from certain teams on here is not surprising. But as you said, it's also, if you're going to do that, you've got to leave other players off of other teams, on the list. Because if it's a top 30, then it is what it is, right? So, yeah, so that was one that caught my eye. I think a couple others. I mean, I think 23, you and I are probably going to agree. Like, I think for Bowen to be at 23, I mean, we have really high expectations for him at Alabama.
Yep.
He was another one that I feel like was early in the cycle. But man, Big Baller Brett knows we're high on this guy, and I think we've both gotten higher on Alabama as the offseason has progressed. So,
yeah. And you could have put, I thought there was a few other tied. Well, no, because Bethea is up there at 17. So just an underrated class there. But Blake, we also, we've got the Vitches, right? We've got the nickname for the Vitches. But we need, and I'm not going to force it. You can't force nicknames like this, folks. You can't force it. But we need a Keyshawn's nickname for the Keyshawn's at Auburn. Right now, I'm forgetting the keys in the car when it's coming to creating a nickname for the Keys. But 5 and 6, Blake, and they're probably going to play right next to each other, whether that's Hall as a big guard at the 4 and Murphy kind of undersized at the 5, or if they slide Murph down to the 4, you have Hall at the 3, whatever it is, their play styles are really going to mesh well together. I mean, that could be one of the better, I don't want to say front court because it's positionless and Hall can kind of do whatever, but just like kind of when you're thinking of duos that can do a lot, versatile, can stretch the floor, and can take the ball up in transition, the Keyshawn's are one of the better duos in the league.
Yeah, Murphy's been in the league. I think that's important, the experience he brings, and I think the role he's going to play on this team. Because remember, we knew what he was doing for Mississippi State, right? He was just kind of had to be one of those dog-type guys that did a lot of things, and I think that's what Auburn needs on this year's roster, I think, for a guy like that. So I do kind of feel like that's a scenario where he's going to have a chance to be right there where he's at right now in that top 6, top 5 even. And then Hall, I mean, we said when that guy committed, we're like, you go through his numbers, you go through his game, given everything that Auburn lost on last year's roster, he has to be one of the dudes, right? Everybody's going to look at Tahad Pettiford as kind of the main man, but, I mean, safe to say he's probably number 2?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the expectation, right? I feel like I'd be surprised if not. I mean, maybe just pair these two together, these two guys. But, yeah, I think that, look, if Auburn's going to be a team, and not even saying they have to replicate what they did last year, but if they're going to finish in the top 4 in a very competitive SEC, which, again, if you're in the top 4 in the SEC, you're probably top 10, top 12 nationally, it's these two guys are going to drive it behind the obvious, sort of guy who's going to make everything go in Pettiford. So,
yeah. Okay, should we go to biggest snubs? Because there are a few, and there are some teams as a whole that have been snubbed.
All right, let's do that. Before we do that, I'm going to tell you quickly about our friends over at GameTime Sidekicks. Oh my goodness, do you see this beautiful, beautiful cup? You don't know what's in this cup, but there's something in there. It's legal. There you go. We're going to go all the way around with the mascots. Our friends at GameTime Sidekicks, the absolute best of the best. We keep telling you guys, do us a favor, go over there, check out the tremendous items that they have for you to purchase. You got to keep your stuff cool, keep it warm. They got the officially licensed stainless steel drinkware. Every SEC school represented, over 350 more universities as well. Top of the market quality. Reminds me of Max Barr. As far as construction and ice retention, all the logo printing and decoration done in Knoxville. Tons of designs and logos offered for each school. They have that college vault line we keep telling you about. Everything from the stainless steel sippy cups, tumblers, and 40-ounce bottles and shaker cups. SE16, SE16 for a 20% discount to our viewers. 20% SE16. And I would love to give you the link right now in the comments. And you know what? My computer was fast enough to allow me to do that. Go over to GameTime Sidekicks, SE16, for 20% off. Remember, you buy something there, 20% off. All you're doing is helping the channel because these guys help us, the best of the best, at GameTime Sidekicks. All right. Let's continue. The
Blake,
snubs.
Speaking of 20%, 20s is where Zach thinks Kevin Overton should have landed in this ranking. And Zach, I'm right there with you. I got Kevin Overton listed. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 6 individual players listed as snubs, and then there's 3 teams that aren't represented here at all. Kevin Overton was one of my snubs. If folks don't know, coming over from Texas Tech, that really good Texas Tech team. And if you remember, Chance McMillan, Darian Williams, they had a lot of injuries February and March, and Overton really stepped up big for Texas Tech. He's going to definitely play a role. No Missouri players, Blake. There's no Sebi Mack, no Sean Phillips, no Javon Porter. No one from Missouri is represented. No one from South Carolina. Norden Kapich, Mike Sharabjams. Most importantly, no Michi Johnson on the list. Michi has been left off. No Vanderbilt players at all. No Tyler Harris, no Frankie Collins, no Duke Miles, no Jalen Washington, no Mason Nicholson. Nothing from Vanderbilt, South Carolina, or Missouri. I think we should react to that first before going into individual players.
Before I get into, okay, I'll follow your lead because there's one player.
Well, you can go. You go wherever you want.
No. I'll follow your lead. You set me up. Okay. Yes, the Vanderbilt thing, again, I think you could have argued for a couple of those different guys to be in there. You mentioned the Missouri group. South Carolina, I think, certainly had some. I mean, Michi Johnson, I'm like, he could have absolutely fit that bill, I think, to be in there because I just think he's going to thrive, as we said. He's going to be the guy on that South Carolina team, is he not? So I think if Michi Johnson's not in the top, if Michi Johnson's not in the top 15.
How is Michi Johnson? Yeah.
Then it's going to be a rough year for the Gamecocks, but I think he'll easily wind up in there. All right, there's another player, though, that I want to bring up. And
well, there's the elephant in the room about there's 2 players that have been left off this list. That's just blasphemy. Malik Ewan and Nick Pringle are not.
Yeah, I was going to say that those are the 2 that I had circled. Like,
what are we doing?
They're not on there. I'm a little bit curious as to how that happens because nothing against any of the guys that are maybe in the 20s or whatever, because we talked about some of them, but I just don't know how those 2 guys are not on the list somewhere. I think they're easily 2 of the top in this group. I mean, I'd probably even put in the top 20, maybe. Again, I know you got to shuffle some guys around, but they'd be in there for me. So, yeah, I think Arkansas getting the shaft here on this one with those 2.
Because if you look at like the other bigs that are on the list that aren't, top of the top, you've got Cannon Catchings, Markel Sutton, Corey Chest. Don't get me wrong, I love these guys, but we're talking Malik Ewan and Nick Pringle. Nick Pringle was a starter on the Final Four team. Malik Ewan was one of the top bigs in the entire portal cycle this year from Florida State. How do you not include those guys? So that was my biggest snubs. That was my biggest snubs, top of the list, Ewan and Pringle.
Let me see who else, because I've got the depth charts pulled up here. And I want to see if there's anyone else I'm forgetting. Anyone else off the top
I got
of
a
your
few
head?
others.
There's so many players. I'm going to have to look at the rosters to see if I can spot the ones that I'm not thinking of. So
I've got James Scott, Ole Miss big. He was the starter for Louisville whole year pretty much. Louisville was, I think, second or third. It's not saying much in the ACC, but Louisville was not a bad team last year. Quincy Ballard, the big for Mississippi State. Out of the confusion that is that front court, I think he's the one. He's the one thing for certain. No Quincy Ballard. No Jalen Carey.
Okay. So when you just heard me go, wow, that's when I saw his name. I was like, wait a second, he's not on there. Okay. Yeah, that's one.
No Jalen Carey. And this one was just kind of me like not expecting him to be on here, but I wish he would be. Lacina Traore for Texas. Those were my snubs.
Yeah, we think so alike now when it comes to these. But I was like, when you said I didn't expect him to be on here, I knew that's where you were headed because I wouldn't either because he is coming off an injury. But we're big fans, of course, of him. Yeah, the Jalen Carey one, that's one that's a curious decision on that. Yeah, so I mean, there's that. Look, here's the point too. Big Gator EJ, as always, the voice of reason. There's only 30, so you got to take some people off, right?
Yep.
I mean, I'd be okay with taking a couple of these players off probably to replace them with some of the ones we mentioned. But yeah, I would be okay with that. So I know we have to play that game, but I would be okay removing some of the people on here to add in the others.
What I will say is thanks to 247 and CBB Uncharted for putting this together and giving us sickos something to talk about here in the dog days of summer, because this is what it's all about.
Yeah. So there you go. Again, we figured we'd have some fun with this because, I mean, come on, it's still July technically here, so we needed something else to talk about with rankings. And yeah, these were fun to look at, but we made our predictions for who may wind up higher on this list by season's end. So you guys give us your thoughts on that. You already have in the chat. And yeah, I mean, look, I know people are asking specifically, who would you put this person ahead of? Like, I mean, there's plenty of, I mean, I think there's options we just go into, but we're probably not going to go down through the entire list and say, all right, that guy's got to go off and all that. Like, we'll just, but yeah.
I'll say there was one guy that kind of stuck out like a sore thumb for me. And I you guys know I don't like singling anybody out, but I'm pretty sure I would put a good amount of players above AJ Brown. I think he's, projected to be in a bench support role for Florida, coming off a series of injuries at the mid-major level. And we got guys that have been started on the Final Four teams, like Nick Pringle and stuff, that have been left off. So I was like, that was one guy I was like, could probably have bumped him.
All right. What else we got here? Quickly, before we get into maybe the prime topic that some people are here for, as we look at Arkansas and Duke. Just by the way, I did put this out, was it yesterday or the day before, that, let's see, Lenardi, it was 2 days ago, put out his updated July bracketology, Max. Are you ready for this one? It's never too early. We do this every month. He puts it out once a month, all right? So we do this every month. Lenardi has put out his updated bracketology for July the 29th. Here we go. Are you ready? The Florida Gators have been bumped from the number 1 overall seed by the Houston Cougars.
Okay.
So, a rematch there between those two. So, Florida's been bumped. They're still a number 1 seed, but Houston is the number 1 overall seed. All right, we continue on. Guess how many number 2 seeds the SEC has?
3.
0. Not a single 2 seed from Mr. Lenardi.
Ridiculous.
Ollie's saying, do we do gut bracket? Is it ever too early to do a gut bracket in July?
Don't you put that in our head.
Don't you dare me. I'll do it. I'll do it right now. So, okay. We'll do. How about we'll say for the August bracketology, we'll do a gut bracket. Okay.
Oh God.
All right. No 2 seeds in the SEC. 3 seeds: Tennessee, Kentucky, and that's it. Arkansas fans not happy right now. 4 seeds: Arkansas and Auburn. 5 seeds: Alabama. I think that's it. 6 seeds: none. 7 seeds: none. Now is what you're starting to. Now this is an interesting thing, though. Okay, there are 14 teams in this, but this is where we look at this year for the SEC, and I think that's what I said. The non-conference is going to be huge because you're going to have a jumbled mess, I think, with some of these teams. So now we get to the 8-9s, all right? Texas is an 8. Mississippi State's an 8. Missouri's an 8. 9s, we've got Oklahoma. 10s, we've got Georgia, Ole Miss, and Vanderbilt. So the 8 to 10 range is loaded with SEC teams. So again, that's that make or break type range, I think, for several of these teams this year. That could be the difference between getting 10 teams in or getting 14 teams in. Now, beyond that, I think that A&M is one of the last 4 in, so they're an 11 seed, and then 2 that are left out, LSU, South Carolina. Max, by the way, guess who the last team in is?
Is it SMU?
SMU, the Mustangs, right where I want them to be, the last team into the field, according to Lenardi.
It's like peanut butter and jelly.
All right, so there you go. There's your bracketology update for July. Overreact accordingly to one man's opinion on a bracket that will not be revealed for another 8 months. Oh, God, that's a long time. Oh, man.
Oh, jeez.
That's too long.
It'll be here before you know it. It'll be here before you know it.
It'll be here before you know it. Speaking of things that are here, Max, real quickly. Look what arrived. Look what arrived from our friends at ROKFORM. I would show you the actual case, but it is on my phone, and I use my phone for my camera, so I can't do that. But it's here. My friends at ROKFORM sent over this nice, just quality material. Look at this charger. You never have too many chargers, right? There you go. So tremendous stuff from our friends at ROKFORM. We keep telling you about them. A new sponsor here on the channel, and my goodness, they are just quality. Again, we pattern our sponsors around Max. Quality, durable, the world's strongest magnetic phone case they have with the extreme protection, which sounds to me like a sports fan. You need all the protection you can get when it comes to getting pissed off about games and throwing your phone. Super strong magnets. They got the Rock Lock.
I like that.
That's tremendous. Secure mounting. They've got the mounts. They got golf accessories. They got that charger, like I said. 3 things to plug in right there. Awesome stuff from our friends at ROKFORM. Visit them as well. Another new sponsor here as we gear up for the start of football season. So, all right.
We could do like a rock lock of the week.
Oh. Now that has just been added to the format. So, Max, what is your rock lock of the week? I mean, here, you know what? Rock lock of the week. Hold on. You're gonna give it to me. The NFL Hall of Fame game is today, Max, 7 p.m. Central Time. Your rock lock of the week: Detroit Lions versus Los Angeles Chargers.
Give me the Lions. Grit.
Ooh. Lions. Hall of Fame. Yeah, Alan says the rock lock sounds like a wrestling move. It's true.
I did see some. There are some fantasy football implications. Don't let us go down this path, folks. We could do a whole other show on that.
I can tell you, probably pretty soon we're going to start going down the path of fantasy football and NFL related stuff. But we'll save that for another day. All right, let's talk about Arkansas and Duke.
Oh boy,
because they are the game of the week here in our non-conference series. Doing way too early look at the non-conference games. And by the way, some people have said, why are you talking about a game this far away? Folks, there were hundreds of people that still watched our Florida-Arizona thing the other day. There have been like 4,000 to 5,000 people that have been in on the Kentucky-Louisville way too early preview. It's basketball season here.
It's
fun.
I
know it's not even. Come on, this is exciting. So, Arkansas and Duke, these two will clash in what John Calipari said may be the most watched game in the past decade, potentially. However long that time frame was when we talked about that. Max, you're going to be eating your turkey and watching the Hogs and the Blue Devils.
It is a rock lock that I will be fully missing out on any family activity during the duration of this basketball game.
Rock lock. Man.
And you're right. Calipari said it's going to be one of the most watched college basketball games in the last decade, because if you go back to last Thanksgiving, Illinois against Arkansas averaged over 5 million viewers. It was the most watched college basketball game on any network the regular season last year. Sign me up for Arkansas Duke a little bit more than Arkansas Illinois. I think this thing even beats that.
The number one matchup you have your eye on in this game, personnel-wise?
The 4. Boozer, Brazil, duking it out. Versatility on versatility. The youngster against the vet. what version of Brazil do we get? Reports are that he's putting on some muscle, Blake. He's been in the gym. He's been lifting. You got Boozer. Is he the next Cooper Flag? Is he the next freshman of the year, MVP candidate? Boozer can stretch the floor, do a little bit of everything, just like Brazil can. Oh, sign me up for that matchup, Blake.
Yeah, just for background reference, obviously Duke is the #1 recruiting class in the country with this prop they're going to bring in. As you can tell, it's just a very, a very talented team. But like you said, we've talked about Brazil this offseason quite a bit because one of the things is just sort of, we know what the talk was with this guy, several years ago, came from Missouri to Arkansas, got injured in that Maui Invitational, missed the rest of the year. And then, it's kind of just getting back on track and having the kind of finish to your career that you want. And man, the talent is certainly there. We saw some of the things last year that he was able to do. But yeah, I think on this team right here, like we mentioned, you're bringing in some new guys. You still got a good crop of underclassmen. So like leaning on that experience of someone like Brazil is going to be important. And you're going up against, like you said, just an absolute, potential superstar in Cam Boozer. So I think, that's probably just a huge matchup to determine kind of exactly how this game plays out.
And just to set the stage here, this line is going to change greatly from this preseason prediction, as it's about 3.5, 4 weeks into the season. So this is going to change. But as of right now, preseason expectations, Bart Torvik has Duke about a 2-basket favorite. So Duke just slightly projected to be a little bit better than Arkansas. You guys can't see the depth on the graphic. Duke is going to be a little bit of a deeper team than Arkansas, but not quite as deep as this Duke team that we just watched last year. For Arkansas, you're going to get the 5-star freshman Malik Thomas off the bench in the backcourt with Acuff and Wagner. A little bit of Billy Richmond there on the wing. You've got Nick Pringle in behind Ewan as well. In the international Artail, maybe the freshman Semedo, maybe the freshman Sealy could sneak in there, but it'll kind of be that tight 8-ish man rotation for Arkansas. Duke a little bit deeper. The point guard spot up in the air right now. I've got Caleb Foster listed there just kind of for seniority, but you got the Boozer's brother, Caden Boozer, also there at 6'4", who can handle the rock. Isaiah Evans is going to be massive for this team, Blake. Massive because the 3-point volume that was there last year with Knipple, even with Flag out at the 4, they had tons and tons of shooting. Dame Sarr, the international, capable if you lead him wide open, but in his international stats, he's never averaged more than 0.5 or 0.8 threes a game. So if you leave him wide open, he can shoot it, but he's not like a sniper on the wing. Boozer, capable, but not a sniper. So this team is going to have a little bit less 3-point volume than last year's Duke team. But man, Blake, they've got Ngogba and Malik Brown, who was there banged up last year, but from Syracuse. They've got Darren Harris and Nicholas Kamenia off the bench. A little bit deeper here than the Razorbacks for the Blue Devils, Blake.
Yep, Duke currently still the 3rd best odds to win the national championship per FanDuel. Yeah, Purdue's still at 1, Houston 2, Duke is at 3. By the way, Kentucky.
What are Duke's
Florida,
odds on FanDuel?
Plus 1,100. By the way, Kentucky and Florida have the same odds now. Has it been that way? I don't remember that.
I don't think so.
So yeah, so that's worth noting. Arkansas plus 3,000 on that too. So no surprise, right? Duke's one of the favorites to win the national championship. You mentioned all the reasons why in terms of the expectations for this roster. And I think too, this is a pretty big moment for the standout freshman for Arkansas. Whether it's Acuff or Thomas, and I think this is the kind of game where, when you bring guys like this in, it's all about, hey, it's these kind of games, right? It's the big moments. It's thriving in those. And yes, this is kind of an early season game, but so Arkansas doesn't have their schedule listed. Duke does have their schedule listed, by the way. I don't know why I forgot this, but I forgot that Duke opens against Texas to start the season. That's November 4th. They play Army November the 11th. They play Kansas at MSG on November 18th. Niagara November 21. Howard November 23. And then, of course, Arkansas on November 27th, and then they go straight from that to play Florida the following Tuesday. So Duke will, have some games where they're going to be tested. I think Kansas and Texas will be pretty noteworthy games before they get to Arkansas. Do we have any other sort of guide for what Arkansas's games are before that? I just don't remember. But Arkansas fans, you can let us know if so. I just juggling 16 different schedules here. So, but
Yeah, I looked into it, and there's no official schedule out yet for Arkansas, but they do have a fairly loaded quad one. There's multiple top games that come after this. I am
yeah,
almost positive that this game for Arkansas is either their first or their second big time test because they do have a lot of teams loaded up, and they all come after this one. I remember that.
okay. Well, that does kind of tie into, I think, the thought of a big time moment for these freshmen, and I think think about like John Calipari's best freshmen over the years, right? Think about the ones who just this is the reason they went to Kentucky at the time, right? Was because they wanted to play in these kind of games. These were the big games, and then you'd have guys who just came in, and you're like, all right, that dude's a freshman, but he just went out and scored 24 and
Yep.
whatever, and like just he was ready for the moment. And I think you look at obviously these two specifically and feel like, all right, they're kind of built for this. But I also think that's where having the Brazil and the Ewans, and Pringle, like all those guys who have that experience, I think is going to be really valuable. But specifically looking at that backcourt to me is kind of a fun thing to think about, just because this may be kind of that first huge big stage type moment for these star freshmen.
Yeah, and we had some folks asking about the total and the spreads. Right now, the total on Torvik is 147. We previewed some Cats games, Florida games. Those were up at like 160. This is going to be a little bit more defensive. You got some absolute just great defenders, versatility wise. Carter Knox can guard multiple positions. Brazil can guard multiple positions. Malik Brown coming off the bench for Duke is one of the best defensive bigs in the nation in terms of his hands, steals, and blocks. I think this game, Blake, would be more of like a first to 70. Who gets to 70 first? Maybe the final is, like a high 70 to a high 60s type of game. And it's one with the physicality, rebounding, and rim protection. This will be a really good, physical test early for Arkansas because of guys like, Carter Knox, how physical he is, and Billy Richmond and Acuff in his frame. They're going to be able to use that to their advantage in the early mid-major games. And then they're going to match up with this Duke team who's going to be pretty big again. They're not going to quite be, 6'7" across the board, 6'6" across the board, but they're still big. But, they're still big. It'll be a nice physicality test.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go to actually, is the kind of the size of Arkansas too and their guards. Obviously, I know Acuff 6'2", Wagner 6'4", Thomas 6'5", Billy Richmond 6'6", Knox is 6'6", and then of course you got the 6'10" trio in the front court. So I think that's where like having that size is good for a game like this, because Duke's not going to be as big, just because it's a little bit different with this team. But still, I mean, look, right, they're still playing potentially 6'5", 6'6". 6'8".
They're still going to be big.
Yeah, so I mean, pretty much every position you've got that NBA type size. Feeling pretty good about that, and of course the talent speaks for itself. So yeah, I mean, listen, I think this is one. And by the way, I just saw the schedule. I found it here for Arkansas. So this from June 19th from Hog Sports, so 24/7. It looks like Central Arkansas on November the 11th. You've got the other two games as part of this CBS Sports thing that I don't know if they've announced the opponents for, but both those games will be in Fayetteville. They're not going to be to the level of Duke. But then, of course, you've got the game against Louisville December the 3rd, Houston on December the 20th, and then I think I'm seeing at Michigan State and Baylor as well. So, I mean,
it picks up quick, I remember.
Whew.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a tough schedule there. And then, of course, we've talked about their SEC slate, where you get a couple pretty good teams twice. So yeah, so that was the point on the schedule.
Chris asks what type of pace we think this game is going to be, and honestly, I'm not exactly sure what to expect from the Duke offense, because the Duke offense last year, when you're looking at their point distribution and where they rank points from threes, points from twos, and then points from free throws, their points from twos were outside the top 300. Their points from free throws was around 225, and then points from threes was 65. I mean, they got a large portion of their points from that 3-point line. And I don't think this roster is quite built that way. I think they're going to be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more downhill. But also, you have Isaiah Evans, Blake, who could genuinely go for like a Josh Hubbard type of night. Any night he touches the ball, could go off. But I don't think Duke is going to be as run and gun. I really don't.
Well, by the way, I know you guys are mentioning no Baylor game now. Yeah, I'm just looking at something from June, so whatever's changed on that, yeah, I guess that's changed. Texas Tech, we forgot about that too. That's not listed on the ones we have here. But I think with Cal, something of note too, like there was a time there in terms of like the style of play where it was kind of predictable in terms of what they were going to do offensively. But if you look at the tempo of the past couple of years, I mean, they've been in the top 70. Of course, they were 12 in the last year at Kentucky. They were in the 69th last year at Arkansas. And I think just with the guards that they're going to have, I mean, wouldn't you think with them? Like, let's try to put this in a certain way. I think it's better for Arkansas to play in transition in the open floor than try to run offensive sets. Because I think, as we said, there have been questions regarding that with Cal in the half court offensively, I think, at times. So I would believe that given this group you have, especially with all of these guys that can handle the ball, whether it's Acuff, Thomas, Wagner, Knox, Richmond, if you have the opportunity for those two guys to get out and go, and then you got the 2 or 3, 6, 10, 6, 11 guys running the court, I would think that's your best chance if you're Arkansas.
You know, Blake, as I'm looking at Scheyer's history here, his 3 years at Duke, where he's ranked in adjusted tempo nationally, going back from 23, 24, 25, 298, 253, 269. They really have not been a fast team. I guess just in my head, all of the, how clean that offense was, the number one offense in the history of KenPom last year. I just, you got the feeling that it was fast, but they really do not play a fast style under Scheyer.
Well, it can be a double-edged sword because it's like you can say you want to play fast, but if you play fast and don't get the shots you want, then what's the point? And I think that's where, like with Scheyer and Duke, sure, he had all the talent. They probably could have got out and just ran the floor and been fine. But they came down, they got the shots they wanted to get, and that's why they were so effective on offense. They didn't feel pressured or being, forcing things every single time. And I think that's where, like, we talk about with Arkansas, the good and the bad last year, right? You could watch the way the offense flowed and you could just see the obvious weaknesses with some of the things that they couldn't do last year. But then once you got later in the season, you started to see some things open up a little bit more. And so I'm excited about the potential for this team offensively. And so I just feel like, I mean, I know Alan was like, which team has the best ball handlers? I think both of them have good ball handlers, but I think Arkansas just has so many options in terms of having several different guys who feel like they could bring the ball up the court. And not to say Duke couldn't do that, but I like this backcourt / wing mix for Arkansas a lot. I like it.
I think the one thing, if you want to put an X factor on it, I think the one thing Duke has that Arkansas doesn't is they do have an Isaiah Evans, a guy that, given the space, given the comfortability, if he gets into his flow, could genuinely shoot like a 7 for 11 from 3, and no one would bat an eye. I don't think Arkansas has a guy like that, but it's different team builds, and that's gonna have to be a major piece for whether that's a Billy Richmond assignment, coming off the bench and just right in his shorts defensively. That's gonna have to be a focus for Arkansas defensively, but Arkansas has things that they can present that Duke doesn't with the depth in the backcourt and stuff. So it'll be interesting.
Last thing, you probably don't have this pulled up, but when you did the shooting rankings, did you do every team or did you just do the top 5 teams?
I have the SEC, the full SEC.
Where did Arkansas wind up in terms of like returning production?
They are projected to be one of the worst shooting teams in the league. because when you look at who is coming back and that has threes, DJ Wagner, Carter Knox, and Trevon Brazile are the only players on this team that have made double-digit threes last year. DJ Wagner made 41 and he shot 30%. Carter Knox made 35 and he shot 35%. And then Brazile made 24, shooting 36%. So that is the one drawback offensively for this Arkansas team. They do not have anyone that has made over 50 threes in a season and had that knockdown like an Isaiah Evans. They don't have that.
That's why I think it's important that they be very free-flowing in terms of getting out in transition, and that's where rebounding is going to factor into. So, yeah, I love this matchup. I know it's so far away, but I'm like, there are so many things that I can look at and be like, yeah, I like Duke there, but yeah, I like Arkansas there, and who knows? We'll find out where they're going to be.
That's why the more we talk about Arkansas, the more I say Trevon Brazile's got to be great.
Yeah. Well, look, and we know too that Max's rankings, by the way, just remember it's factoring in returning production, so it's not necessarily tying into the new guys. We know these guys can shoot that are coming in, but I think it is also fair to look at and say, as a whole, will they compare it to some of the other SEC teams? I think it remains to be seen, even as good as the freshmen are in terms of expecting them to, to be big contributors in terms of the 3-point shooting.
Yep.
All right. There you go. A way too early look at Arkansas and Duke. As we said, we're doing one of these every single week leading up to the start of the season. We'll never run out of games. There will always be a game.
It's making me more excited for the non-conference because I'm like, I've been excited for this game for a while.
Well, I mean, we've read off the list even for like Kentucky and Arkansas so far. And we're like, there are 4 or 5 games that deserve plenty of mention just for those two teams, and then you can go into obviously big ones as well for Tennessee, Florida, Alabama, Arkansas, or Auburn, and so forth. Like there's so many teams that have some pretty big games announced so far. So, all right, there you go. Questions, comments, super chats. What have we not gotten to from super chats? Did we miss anything?
What a great chat we have. Chat was great today.
I don't know if we missed this from Justin earlier. $2 for say no Vanderbilt players in the transfer rankings like Diego Pavia not being in the top 10 SEC QBs. I don't know who made that list, but I wouldn't buy into that one. But yeah. All right, Brian. Look at Brian. The best college basketball podcast for the best conference in college basketball. We appreciate Brian, the Godfather. We start calling Brian the Godfather. Is that okay? Now that he's changed his profile picture to the Godfather. So, all right, let's see what else we got here. Coming up, Alan, you guys rock lock. Another great show here from Alan. And yeah, Big Gator EJ, Calipari's teams have never been elite at threes. And someone did ask what was the highest total in recent years. Obviously, he had that team, what was it, the Kentucky team in 24 that was the best 3-point shooting team in the country. So, but that has kind of been the outlier with that. Although his teams haven't been bad shooting teams, by the way. Like last year's team was not that. Last year's team, keep this in mind, that was the worst shooting team last year that John Calipari has had since 2009, percentage-wise. So just keep that in mind. Okay, folks, 2 questions. Shane says, when is the 2K8 happening? Shane, they're coming to put my new internet in next week. So we're going to kick off. I don't even know who won the poll. Max, do we have the poll? We'll need to pull that up.
So it was tied, but YouTube has selected a winner.
Oh, wait a second. Okay, hold on. Let's pull this up. Is there any way we can put this on the screen? Let me see here. See if you can get this on the screen. Because I haven't looked at the update. Yeah, pull it up. This is fascinating. I had no idea. I haven't kept up with it. Don't leave yet, because we got 2 things to tell you guys. So don't leave yet. While you're waiting, hit the like button or the subscribe button.
Oh, geez.
What?
Okay, so I'm on like the back end of it.
Okay, I can do it.
Not the public view.
Hold on. Let me pull it up. So we did the poll. Which team do you want Max and I to coach for the College Hoops 2K8 game? This is just incredible. I don't even know what to say.
Insane.
This is absolutely wild that it wound up this way. All right. So, folks, we did the poll. And it's a tie. Kentucky and Arkansas tied 33%. How does that even happen? That we do this and we get a tie. So, I mean, we're going to have to go to a tiebreaker now, I guess, because we got 1,700 votes. We're going to do the SEC College Hoops 2K8 Dynasty, where we pick a team, we coach them throughout the year, we recruit for them, all this other stuff. That was our plan. But we got a tie between Kentucky and Arkansas. Max.
If you look closely,
it does?
Looks
okay.
like
yes,
it
right
looks
there.
like, but the percentage, I don't know. Is there a way we can look at the votes?
We can't. It only gives us that. But I'm with you. If you look, there is a little bit of a line here that supports the Hogs with a slight edge. But I don't know. We might have to do something else for this. Okay? We might have to, I don't know. We might have to come up with a solution because I don't want to just, it could just be offset because of something else, right? So I don't know. I don't want to get too far into this and collusion be presented. So
I wish it would show us which one is the winner. Like if it would just finalize it, and so that is
all
so
right.
great.
We might have to take it to a runoff, as Tyler says. We might have to take it to a runoff vote. This may be, I mean, maybe a runoff. Sorry. Or, you know what? I have a better idea. I have a much better idea. What if we simulate a game between Kentucky and Arkansas on the game itself, and the winner is the team that we coach?
Yes.
How about that?
There it is.
Boom.
There it is.
There you go. That's what we're going to do. We're going to simulate a game. And by the way, I don't think we're going to be able to do like updated rosters or anything, although there was someone at a time who was updating it every year. But we'll just kind of give you generic players and all this kind of stuff. So we're going to have some fun with this, by the way. You have no idea how excited Max and are for this. So this is going to be tremendous. We're going to get that started hopefully next week if they fix my internet. All right. Number 2, tomorrow, 9 a.m. Central Time, a special live show here on the channel. I think as of right now.
Special.
Yeah, it's gonna be very special. A big announcement coming tomorrow, 9 a.m. here on the channel, live and in living color at Southeastern 16. Turn on your notifications if you don't have them already. Max is gonna put the stream up in a little while. Once you see that go up, set the notifications on that so you don't miss it, and we'll have some fun tomorrow. All right, we appreciate you guys always. Like button, subscribe button, Game Time Sidekicks, ROKFORM. Check them out. And thank you as always for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Southeastern 16.